The air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation, each breath a heavy, suffocating weight. I sat there, a statue of forced calm, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, knuckles white against the courtroom's stiff brown. Across the aisle, she sat, my wife, Amelia, the embodiment of composed fury. Her lawyer, a shark in a tailored suit, whispered reassurances, his eyes glinting with predatory confidence. They were both so sure of themselves, so certain that they had already won. They believed they had me cornered. A defeated husband, a man broken by betrayal, and now facing the prospect of losing my daughter, Lily. It had all started with subtle shifts, the late nights at work that stretched into early mornings, the detached kisses, the conversations that felt more like interrogations. There was a hollow in her eyes when she looked at me, a coldness that made me shiver in the middle of summer. I tried to talk to her, to bridge the growing chasm between us, but each attempt was met with icy indifference or dismissive sighs. She had become a stranger in my own home. The final crack came with a phone call, a missed call from a name I didn't recognize. Marcus. A quick search revealed him, a handsome, smirking lawyer, probably about her age. The kind of guy she'd always scoffed at for being too polished, too perfect. That's when the suspicion solidified into a cold, hard truth. Amelia was having an affair. It wasn't just a fleeting infatuation. It was a carefully cultivated betrayal, a calculated dismantling of our marriage. Instead of confronting her immediately, I did something she wouldn't expect. I bought a small, inconspicuous camera, one that looked like a standard USB wall charger. I placed it in the living room, disguised among the other electronics. It was a risk, a leap into the unknown, but it was the only way I could uncover the full extent of her duplicity. For weeks, I watched. I replayed the videos in the lonely darkness of my study, each scene a fresh wound. It wasn't just the physical acts, the stolen kisses, the whispered words of affection with another man on our living room couch. It was a casual cruelty she displayed, the utter disregard she had for our marriage, for me, that cut the deepest. She spoke of me with such venom, describing me as dull, unambitious, a burden. My heart hardened into solid stone. The man she called Marcus was apparently everything I wasn't. And then came the bomb, a legal document, delivered with the casual disdain of a supermarket flyer. She wanted a divorce. And she wasn't just asking. She was demanding full custody of Lily. The legal jargon blurred as I skimmed the pages, the underlying message crystal clear. She wanted to erase me from Lily's life. I knew then that I wouldn't just sit back and let her destroy everything. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't plead. I would fight. I would use the truth, her own actions, to shatter her perfect charade. I had initially intended to simply use the footage as evidence in the divorce case, but her vicious attempts to take my daughter, her insistence that I was an unfit father, fueled a fire in me I didn't know existed. This wouldn't be just a courtroom battle. It was a reckoning. The judge entered, his presence adding to the charged atmosphere. The proceedings began with the usual formalities, but I could feel the tension mounting as her lawyer, Mr. Sterling, confidently laid out Amelia's case. He painted me as a workaholic, emotionally unavailable, someone who put his career before his family. He carefully avoided mentioning her infidelities, presenting her as a victim of my supposed neglect. Amelia sat there, her face a mask of mournful piety, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. The performance was almost flawless. When it was my turn, I stood, my voice firm, though my heart hammered against my ribs. I calmly presented my side, detailing the timeline of events, the sudden change in Amelia, her coldness. I spoke of how I had tried to fix things, how I had poured my heart out only to be met with dismissal. The judge listened intently, his expression unreadable. Mr. Sterling, sensing an opening, launched a scathing attack, accusing me of character assassination, of trying to deflect from my own shortcomings. He scoffed. "Your Honor, he has no real evidence. Only vague accusations and a desire to avoid responsibility." Amelia's eyes narrowed, a triumphant smirk playing at the corners of her lips. They thought they had me. This is where I had them. "Your Honor," I said, my voice echoing in the suddenly silent courtroom, "I do have evidence. Concrete evidence. I pulled out the small USB drive, the one containing the weeks of meticulously recorded footage. The tension in the room was so thick you could taste it. I handed it to the court clerk, who, after a moment's hesitation, inserted it into the courtroom's display system. On the large screen, the living room came to life, the familiar setting suddenly a stage for betrayal. The first clip showed Amelia and Marcus laughing, touching, their intimacy blatant and undeniable. The courtroom filled with a hushed silence, the kind that descends when a long-held secret is finally revealed. The camera didn't lie. It showed the truth I had been hiding in my own heart, a truth that was now glaring in the faces of all those who were so quick to judge. Clip after clip, the story unfolded. Amelia, the supposed wronged one, was now revealed as the architect of her own destruction. There she was, whispering sweet nothings to Marcus, her hand resting possessively on his arm. There she was, the woman who had tried to take my daughter away, speaking about me with such spite and disregard. Each clip was a fresh stab, a vindication of my hurt, my pain, the terrible betrayal I had endured. A low gasp escaped someone in the gallery. Amelia's face, previously so composed, crumbled. The color drained from her cheeks, replaced by a sickly pallor. Mr. Sterling stared at the screen, his jaw slack, his carefully constructed arguments reduced to ash. The room was heavy with the weight of what we were all watching. The woman who had tried to destroy me was now collapsing under the weight of her own lies. The next clip showed the conversation she had with Marcus about the divorce, how they had discussed their plan to secure full custody of Lily. The casual cruelty with which she talked about me was shocking, even to me. She spoke about our daughter as if she were a possession, a pawn to be used to get what she wanted. The courtroom gasped in unison. The room was a whirlwind of confused faces and hushed whispers. The judge looked shocked. The clerk's eyes were wide, and Mr. Sterling seemed like he was about to pass out. It was in that moment that I looked over at Amelia. Her face was blotchy and red, her eyes wide with terror, her mouth hanging open, a silent scream forming. I had come for justice, and in that moment, I had it. The courtroom was silent, all eyes on Amelia as the final clip played. It was a recording from a few weeks ago, the last video before I decided I had what I needed. The footage was of her in our living room, having a particularly angry phone call with her sister. In the video, she said, "I have no idea why I married him. He's just so boring. I've never been happy with him. He's an anchor weighing me down." She paused, letting out a sigh before adding, "I'm glad I found Marcus. He's everything my husband is not. I deserve to be happy, even if I have to make it happen myself." The clip ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. The judge, after what seemed like an eternity, cleared his throat. I think we've seen enough." He looked at Amelia, his gaze sharp, his voice hard. "Mrs., I would be a fool to believe your testimony." Mr. Sterling sputtered, tried to regain his composure, but the damage was done. His client's carefully constructed image was shattered. The truth, ugly and undeniable, had finally emerged. The veneer of the betrayed wife was gone, leaving behind a cold, calculating woman who had almost succeeded in destroying me and tearing our family apart. The judge ordered a recess, but I didn't move, my eyes locked on Amelia. I watched as she tried to speak, to deny the evidence, but the words died on her lips. Her eyes, once so full of disdain, were now pools of raw fear. She was no longer the confident woman I had married. She was exposed, stripped bare, the embodiment of betrayal. When the session resumed, it was a formality. Mr. Sterling, his tail between his legs, withdrew his client's demand for full custody. The judge, his expression stone, granted me primary custody of Lily. The divorce was finalized with Amelia getting very little. I had won. As I left the courtroom, I felt a sense of profound relief, a catharsis that was both bitter and sweet. I had endured the worst kind of betrayal, had been subjected to unimaginable cruelty, but I had not let it break me. Instead, I had used the truth to expose her lies, to reclaim my life, and most importantly, to protect my daughter. That evening, Lily was waiting for me with a huge hug. I held her close, feeling her small body against mine, a wave of love washing over me. I knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, that the scars of betrayal would never fully fade. But I also knew that I had done what was right. I had fought for my daughter, for myself, and I had won. I walked forward, Lily's hand in mine, the future uncertain yet hopeful. The courtroom was a distant memory, the echoes of the shocking reveal fading into the past. And in its place was the promise of a new beginning, a life without her. So guys, if you all liked today's story, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you for watching.